Step 1 is finding someone you would like to photograph. And step 2 is ask if you can take their photograph. And step 3 is take the photograph. That's it. This video is brought to you by Skillshare. My name is Frederick, I do street photography here on YouTube, and by now I've probably taken 1,000 street portraits, and in this video I'll try to break down how I do it. And when it works, it's such a cool feeling because you're creating this intimate moment between you and this stranger that you've never met before and who you will probably never meet again, and the person opens up to you and you take this portrait. It's just a cool feeling when it works. Look, my photo. Perdón, amigo. Yo fotografía el gente de México. ¿Puedo tomar tu foto?
¿Mande usted?
Yo fotografía el gente de México.
Sí.
¿Puedo tomar tu foto?
No, ¿por qué no?
¿Por qué no? Sí, perfecto. Sí, como eso, está bien. 2 segundos. Y una más, por favor, con aquí. ¿Cómo se llama?
Eliel.
Eliel. Eliel.
Eliel.
Federico.
Muy bien, Fede.
Mucho gusto.
Igualmente, mucho gusto.
Perfecto.
Para servirte.
Muchas gracias. There's two kinds of street portraits, with and without consent. In this video, we will focus on how to do the street portraits with consent, and maybe we're going to do the one without another time. Perdón, amigo. ¿Puedo tomar tu foto? Yo fotografía el gente de México.
Fotógrafo.
¿Sí? ¿Puedo tomar tu foto?
Sí, hermano.
Ok. ¿Perdón? ¿Puedo tomar tu foto? Perfecto, muchas gracias. If you walk around and you do street portraits or photographing strangers, you can do it with a camera, a phone, whatever you have. That said, when I started doing street photography, I just used my phone, and then I bought my first camera, and I felt like it was a lot easier to approach a stranger with a real camera compared to your phone, because then they know you are into photography and you're not just creeping around photographing strangers. ¿Puedo tomar una foto? ¿Está bien? ¿Con ti también? Yo fotografía el gente de México. Muchas gracias. Y un poquito más y... Ajá, sí. Federico, mucho gusto. Buen día. When you photograph strangers, then the energy that you bring into the portrait when you ask them for the photograph is what you get back. So if you are kind of shy, if you're insecure, if you're not showing some kind of confidence, that's what they will show back to you. And it's a lot more unlikely that they will say yes to the photograph. So you kind of have to fake it till you make it. Sorry guys, can I take a portrait of you? I practice film photography. Sorry? I'm not, no. Thanks, man. One more. No smiling. More, very serious. And that's kind of the rule of thumb, so try to bring some high energy and some positiveness, and then you'll get that back. But you also need to read the situation, it's important. So like you see in this clip here. Perdón, amigo, ¿puedo tomar tu foto?
My pleasure, my son.
This guy's obviously very upset and sad, and then it doesn't make sense for you to bring this overly happy and energetic excitement about asking for the photograph. Federico, mucho gusto, amigo. So you should adapt to the situations that you're in. And that also works the other way around. So if someone is dancing or extremely happy or excited, then you should bring that to the table as well. So you should kind of adapt to the situation that you want to photograph. Your goal in this whole situation is to make them comfortable enough for them so they lower their guard and they show you who they truly are. And that's what we're going to try to do today as well. Yo fotografía al gente de México. ¿Puedo tomar tu foto? Perfecto, muchas gracias. Buen día. And you ask for the photograph. Some people will tell you to compliment their scarf or their hair or explain for 1 minute about why they want the photograph. I don't think that's necessary, and I don't think it's going to work in your favor. What I usually do is I go up to them, I ask, hey, can I take your photograph? Then I wait. If they seem hesitant, I say, I photographed the people in Mexico. And that's it. Then I pause, look them into the eyes and wait for them to respond. And usually that's enough. Perdóname, yo fotografié a la gente de México. ¿Puedo tomar una foto de ti? Y 2 segundos. Federico, mucho gusto.
Igualmente.
Buen día. Buen día. And it's that simple, I think. Just go up to the person you want to photograph, ask them for a photo. If they seem hesitant, then explain why, and then play the waiting game until you get the yes. Pardon? Pardon? Yo fotografié a la gente de México. ¿Puedo tomar una foto de ti?
Oh, yeah.
¿Sí? 2 segundos. Listo. Perfecto, muchas gracias. Buen día. Exactamente con eso. Ajá. Entonces, yo tengo un cámara nuevo, yo necesito practicar. But all of this will be second nature once you have taken your fair amount of street photos. Then all of this in this video will just come natural to you. But in the beginning, there's a lot to think about, and I get it, but baby steps. Perdón, amigo. ¿Puedo tomar una foto de ti? Before we continue with this video, I would like to thank my sponsor, Skillshare. As most of you guys probably know, Skillshare is an online community that offers different kind of classes for creatives. There's a ton of photography courses on Skillshare, and there's actually dedicated street photography courses, like this one that you see here from Craig Whitehead, who's a very talented street photographer from the UK. I think what Craig does best is how he works with composition, colors and patterns, and that's some of the things that you will learn in his Skillshare course. I put a link in the description to Craig's street photography class, and you should check it out, it's worthwhile. And the first 1,000 people who sign up get a free trial to a Skillshare premium membership. And Craig, if you're watching this, then I'll reach out to you next time I'm in London so we can do a video together on my channel. Pardon? ¿Puedo tomar una foto? ¿A eso? Ojo, sí, 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 exactamente. Y mira acá. Perfecto, muchas gracias. Buen día. Tengo una pregunta, ¿puedo tomar una foto? ¿Es tu hijo? Hola, amigo.
Hola.
Mucho gusto. In terms of camera settings, it's pretty basic too. If you want the blurry background, which a lot of you guys probably do, then you need to go to like an aperture of 1.4 to 2.5, and then you get this shallow depth of field where you get the blurry background. And as you can see, mine goes to 2.8 as the widest, so that's what I'm gonna use for a lot of these portraits to get this blurry background and to isolate the subject from the background. And if you want to freeze the moment, you need a fast shutter speed, so then you would go with like a 125th of a second to snap the photo quickly with no motion. And there's no reason to be apologetic about it or like really pleasing. You're bringing something to the table, like without you there wouldn't be any street portraits, and that's how you should feel. And I also understand that it can be super intimidating in the beginning, especially if you've never done street portraits before. But it will be a lot easier the more you do it, and you need to act quick and don't hesitate. Once you start hesitating, then you start to doubting yourself, and it gets weird because maybe the person who you want to photograph can feel someone is lurking behind trying to build up their bravery to actually ask for the photograph. So act quick, and if you hesitate, then just go to the next one. I sometimes hesitate too, and then it's easier just to forget about that photograph and move on to the next.
¿Y para qué es?
Yo fotografía a la gente de México.
Ah, ¿y de dónde vienes?
De Dinamarca. Vivo en México.
Ah, vives en México.
Pero soy danés.
Danés, exacto.
Perfecto.
La pintura, ¿no? El jardín de...
So the next question is, who should you ask for a street portrait? And you should ask people who you naturally are attracted to for some reason or the other. Personally, my experience is that it's a lot easier to get a yes from someone who is alone compared to in a group. So if you see a group of 2 people, then maybe they will be up for it, but they will be a little more self-conscious because they're with their friend. compared to if you just single out one person who is alone and there's not that many people around. And in a big group, it can get easy to get a no because there's always some person in that group who is like, nah, I'm good. And if you're feeling shy, I made a whole video about how to overcome your fear, and I put a link up here so you can check it out. And it breaks down everything related to street photography and shyness. And one last thing is that the fear of the rejection that you might feel is a lot worse than the rejection itself. Perdón, ¿puedo tomar tu foto?
No.
Ah, ok, yo fotografía a la gente de México, pero está bien.
Sí,
Buen día. With time, you develop a great sense of who you want to photograph, who will bring out their true, honest self in a portrait, and who will actually say yes. So the more you do this, the better you will become at selecting the people who you want to photograph. And also, let's say you get a rejection, and it sucks and it can hurt. Perdón, amigo. ¿Puedo tomar tu foto? Yo fotografía a la gente de México.
No tengo talento yo para...
No, tú está bien.
No tengo talento yo para fotogénico.
No, todo bien. ¿Está bien? Solo una foto, ¿no?
No.
Okay. Buen día. But you should know that maybe you did everything right. You just picked the wrong person at the wrong time. That person might be totally off for a portrait at another time or in a different setting. Another thing is that when you ask someone for a photograph, it's really easy for them to like give you a thumbs up and make like a pose. You want to kill that pose and wait for them to actually bring something of themselves.
Almost free today here.
Una foto.
Si quieres.
¿Cómo se llama?
Raúl.
Raúl, mucho gusto.
Jaguar.
Federico.
Ok, Frederick.
Perfecto. Perdón chicos, ¿puedo tomar una foto? And also a bonus tip is to have your Instagram account or a business card ready so you can give it to the people you photograph, so you kind of return the favor, right? And I'm also guilty of this. Sometimes it can get hectic with me taking the photos, mass filming the video, but I'm printing some business cards right now so I can give it to people who I photograph so they can get their photograph back. Perfecto. Muchas gracias. Once you're getting comfortable and you're out taking your first street portraits, then what's next for you is to see how far you can push it. Once you've gotten a yes from your subject, then they're up for it. Then you can try to pose the model and you can tell them what to do with their hands, how they should sit. You can go close, you can go further back, and that's sometimes how you're gonna make a good street portrait a great one. Perdón, amigo. Perdón, amigo. ¿Puedo tomar tu foto?
Sí.
¿Está bien? Perfecto. Muchas gracias. And before we end this video, I have a challenge for you guys. And that is, based on what you have learned today, is to go out in whatever city you live in and take some street portraits using this hashtag you see here. And then we can check each other's street portraits out. Until next time.